Welcome to Drive Culture. I'm Jonathan Rivers, and today we have the Honda Zero Saloon. And I'm going to tell you all about the cool tech, design, and features in this prototype model. So we'll go over the exterior, the interior, the powertrain, and today we won't be taking it for a drive, but hopefully someday soon we can come back and get behind the wheels. So if this is content you're after or you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. And with that, let's get after it. Now, this is the Honda Zero Saloon. So you might be wondering, what does zero mean? Well, let's first cover that basis. So Honda in 2024 at CES, they debuted the Saloon concept as the flagship vehicle of their Zero Series sub-brand. And it really took an entirely new approach to design, features, and technologies that had never been seen before on any type of Honda product. Now, this year, for 2025 CES, they came back with an update to that Saloon in prototype form. And if you guys know Honda speak, you know that's pretty close to mass production intent. And if that's the case, you're looking at one of the coolest and sleekest EVs coming out in the next couple of years. So let's go ahead and talk all about the exterior design of this Honda Zero Saloon. All right, guys, here we are with the Honda Zero Saloon, and we're going to talk all about the crazy exterior design that you see here today. Now, one of the cool things is, like I said, is this is labeled as a prototype, but this is actually very, very close to what you're going to be seeing next year. That's right. Honda has said that this and another Zero Series model is going to come to the marketplace next year, 2026. So that's not that far away to be seeing this kind of crazy wedge-shaped vehicle driving down the roads of, really, I think you're going to see a lot of these here in Southern California. So let's go ahead and just talk about the exterior design. So one of the cool things is this is an all new color, and it's bespoke to these Zero Series models. It's called Moonlit White Pearl. So it's you're sitting here going, well, wait a minute, this doesn't look white. It really is. It's actually the lighting here in the studio that kind of makes it look more of like a gray color, but it really is white, guys, and it does look really good. So let's go ahead and kind of look at the front end design here. One of the things about this vehicle is that it's very low and wide, and there was a lot of comments when they first debuted it that it really looked like a Lamborghini Gallardo. So let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Do you see the Lambo up front? There's probably some similarities there, I think, but it's definitely a much different front-end design than what they debuted back in 2024. Now, one of the cool things is, before in that lower area down here in the grille, before they had this kind of like light bar design. It was very fancy and had all these animations. The headlights were much more kind of like, horizontal than they are vertical now. But here's one of the cool things here is all the lighting on this car is bespoke, and it's really like a key element to the design of, really these new Zero Series EVs from Honda. So check this out, guys. This is the front end, and if we actually go ahead and turn off the lights, look what it does here. So did you see that? That's crazy, right? The headlights kind of slid down and all the lighting elements went away. So we're going to go ahead and actually turn that back on. I mean, that looks pretty cool to me. And yeah, again, I think it's really cool. People always wanted, pop-up headlights to come back. I think this is like the perfect middle ground here, right? Because they kind of slide open and reveal these really, really cool LED light elements, as well as this new Honda badge. That's right. So, if you're a real Honda fanboy, you'll know that, the badge from like the 60s and, 70s of Honda was a little bit more similar to this design. But no, this isn't just a repaste of that. They actually kind of, really restyled the font of this new H to create an all new logo, right? And, you know, again, that's part of this new Honda Zero Series line of vehicles. So let's go ahead and kind of take in the entire side profile, because for me, I think this is where you really get to see just how audacious this design is. I mean, look at this thing, guys. I mean, it's really like nothing else on the road today, quite frankly. It just has this wedge design. It's super low, super wide, and quite frankly, it's super long too. It really is a long vehicle, and we'll get inside here in a sec so you can actually see the length isn't to waste. There's a lot of interior space and some really good packaging there as well. So let's go ahead and get up close in the front. Now, again, this is a prototype, so not everything you see here is going to make it to mass production. But for example, some of the lower lip and even some of these elements here on these massive wheel and tires are like that kind of, you know, forged carbon look. You know, got a cool mixture of different elements and designs in there. These are 245 40 ZR21s up front. And I mean, these are mega big tires. I mean, these are Pilot Sport 5 Series tires, actually. So I mean, these are like some of the newest Michelin Pilot Sport tires on here. Whether these make it into production is questionable, but hey, they look really good on this prototype. You can actually see here too, this is where potentially a charge port would go. They have mentioned that it would use the NACS, the North American Charging Standard style port there, which is really cool. Also, you can see they're using these camera style rear view mirrors, right? So you know, here in the US, those aren't legal, so that may not make it to production. You also have this cool LiDAR radar here at the top, because this car has level 3, you know, autonomous driving capability, which means hands off, eyes off. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but essentially this car is going to be able to drive itself on a lot of different road you know, types and scenarios. So we'll go ahead and start to make our way to the rear. I mean, what's really cool, you can probably just see it in the light, is there's a huge rear fender, right? It just bulges out, looks really muscular. Now, as we get back to these wheels here, you know, same design up front, but it's not a you know, square setup, it's staggered. So these are 265 40 ZR22s in the rear, so even bigger, even wider than what's up front. So again, like I said, these are concept, you know, kind of prototype wheels, so we'll see if they actually make their way to production. But next, let's go ahead and let's see what we got here in the rear, and this is where things really just go up to 11. So yeah, this is this is the back end of the saloon, and essentially what it means is, yeah, there's really no rear window, guys. This is essentially the back of the car, so that means you have to use some kind of rear camera technology to be able to see out the back, because it's all closed off. But just like the front, there's some really, really cool lighting elements here. So you can see essentially what would be like the brake lights and the badge, but let's go ahead and turn it off. You can see this real quick. All that kind of disappears. The Honda fades away. We'll go ahead and turn it back on. And that looks really cool. Now, one of the other things are the turn lights. So let's go ahead. You can see how that's actually working there on the left. You can see that actually working on the right. And now you can see in like a hazard light situation. So that's really cool. Now I'm going to just quickly dart up front again so you can see what that looks like up front, because there's that same kind of signature lighting. Now here you can see the hazard lights. So really, really cool design. Like I said, LED lights are one of the key things about this Zero Saloon. So go ahead and stop those. But yeah, I think that looks really, really cool. So I think we've covered just about everything on the exterior of the saloon though. So next, let's go ahead and hop inside to talk about the interior. All right, next, let's go ahead and talk about the interior of this Honda Zero Saloon. So you can already see, again, there's some really, really crazy designs here. I mean, this is the front door panel right now. And again, it's a prototype, so there may be, you know, ultimately be buttons and things added there, but very, very kind of clean, you know, minimalist interior design. I mean, here's the interior, guys, right? And I know some of you are going, well, wait a minute, isn't the steering wheel upside down? Yes, we'll get to that here in a second, but getting under that low roof line, you can see, and then like here's the seats, man. Look at these things. They are quite different than anything you've ever seen in a Honda. I mean, it does have Honda embossed in there, right? Really, really nice seat designs, kind of like these fixed headrests, but yet it looks like there is adjustability there. And again, all the way down, really, really clean, minimalist design, kind of some funky carpet work going on there, your two pedals, and then just lots of screens, lots of real estate there, guys. Kind of this floating console design. Obviously, that'll kind of change as you get closer to mass production, but it gives you an idea that they're going for this kind of clean, minimalist design. So what we're going to do is I'm going to actually show you what the startup sequence looks like here, as well as like how the seat and the steering wheel come into play. So let's take a quick step back, and here is what happens when you were to approach the vehicle. Essentially, the steering wheel and the seat kind of come together. So the steering wheel kind of does its whole spinning effect, moves forward, the seat slid forward, and now you're in an actual seating position. So next, let's go ahead and you can see the actual startup sequence for the interior. And ambient lights everywhere, and these huge screens pop up. You can see, like I said, there are little screens off to the side that would display the side cameras. Again, that won't make it to the US because of government regulations. However, Europe and Japan, where this vehicle will also go on sale, could potentially have that as part of their feature set. So that's a really, really cool startup sequence there. Like I said, we'll go ahead and sit inside so you can see the operating system, which is a really big talking point. So we'll cover that here in a sec. Next, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to check out the rear. All right, next, let's go ahead and peek in the rear of the Honda Zero Saloon. So you can see, just like the front, super minimalist design, super clean design, right? And really, this is just a big 4-passenger vehicle, right? So I'll sit inside and kind of give you some perspective, but it really is a unique design. You see the seat backs here. Actually, there's like even a little screen on the back that says Honda, so that's like a digital display. There's what would be digital display for the rear, climate once that becomes a thing. And then, like I said, you just have this like split in the seats, because essentially you have these cocoon-like seats. I mean, look at these headrests, which again say Honda embossed in there. And again, that ambient lighting that, you know, was up in the front carries all the way to the rear, even around back behind these headrests. So like I said, we'll talk a little bit more how all that works, but it's a really, really futuristic design, and there's a ton of space back here. It's really like sitting in almost a limousine style seat back here. So I'll hop in to show you, but first let's go ahead and check out that cool infotainment system. All right, guys, here we are inside the Honda Zero Saloon prototype, and it's a really futuristic place to be, right? So essentially you have a lot of screens, a lot of lights, and again, just a very clean, minimalist design. So the one thing I will talk about, though, is just the overall amount of glass that is right in front of you and above you. So, I mean, once this car comes to production, you're going to have amazing visibility out through the front. The way the pillars intersect, there's tons of viewing directly in front of you. Off to the sides, good visibility there, but it's this massive piece of glass that goes over the entire top of the vehicle, and it's even really impressive in the back seat. So we'll cover that here in a second. But you know, here we have this crazy yoke steering wheel, which these, you know, kind of cool, almost like haptic style buttons off to the side, that new prominent H logo here. But you know, let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Are you fans of yoke steering wheels? Should it be a standard, you know, square or circle steering wheel? Let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. The seats, as I mentioned before, they're like this fixed, you know, headrest, one-piece style seat, but they're pretty aggressively bolstered. Now, again, it's a prototype, so ultimately the number of power, weight adjustments and all that thing will come out, but given what it's set up right now, it still feels comfortable, but also supportive at the same time. Here you got, like I said, this floating console. It doesn't open up. There's just some really cool LED lights right there. And one of the things, like I mentioned, on the exterior, since the back end's closed off, essentially you have to use the rear view camera here, or maybe it's even displayed here on the center display, to see what's going on out back. But let's talk about the screens and the lights and everything that's going on here. So one of the big announcements with this vehicle is Honda has actually created their own operating system. And yes, they named it Asimo, which is significant because that was Honda's humanoid robot that debuted 20 years ago at CES. So it's kind of come full circle, and now in spirit, Asimo essentially lives in your car. But all joking aside, it really is the basis for their custom developed operating system. So in front of you, we don't have screen sizes for you today, but you do have a really big digital instrument cluster, really high resolution, really good font, really easy to see. Huge screen off here in the center, even a screen in front of the passenger, which I know is a thing now in the industry. But this center display here will show you what these images are as I talk through this here. But you have a big, gorgeous map, that you can zoom in and out on. Putting up your music is really easy. It's just a tile. It lets you cycle through the different types of connections that you have. All your music can be pulled up here, and as you're clicking on different music sources, it'll even change some of the ambient lighting, which I think is pretty cool. Going back to the home screen, you have this kind of little taskbar down here that lets you jump around to the menu. So again, getting through menus seems like it'll be really easy. For the climate control, essentially you push the temperature here, and once you do that, it really opens up this entire menu for you. And now essentially it shows you this 3D rendering of the vehicle, and it shows where the flow of air is actually coming from. And again, there's like these little icons here to select all of the features in the car, like the heated steering wheel. You would just touch that, and it's essentially you touch it 1, 2, or 3 times to adjust the amount of heat that you get. Same thing for your seats, which are ventilated, heated as well. So really, really cool interface here for your climate. Again, going back to the home screen, there's some other really cool things we'll cover, like the vehicle settings and the drive modes. So like one of the things is once you bring up the drive modes, that right now, and again, this car is not even drivable yet, but essentially there's like 4 drive modes programmed in here. So you have a snow mode, and that looks really cool to see the Saloon sitting on a big bed of snow. And it even shows you essentially from the powertrain, the steering, and the EV sound, like what changes within each drive mode. And I imagine maybe there's probably customizable individual settings that'll eventually come as well. But the econ, the graphics on this thing are top notch, right? I mean, and what we've been told is this is actually like a representation of what's coming to market. So there's econ, then you can go back to comfort. It's a nice side profile. And of course, wouldn't be a Honda if there wasn't any kind of sport mode, which again changes lots of different settings down here as well. So really, really high resolution animations that change given each and every drive mode. Now, one of the other buttons down here is you push this, and essentially this creates these different themes combined with the ambient lighting, the animations, and even the sound in the vehicle. So if while you're driving and let's say you had a really long road trip coming up, you would hit something like unwind. And if you guys can capture all that, like it adjusts the seats, it changes all of the ambient lighting to like this amber color, and also if you're picking that up, it's like this music, right? Like BGM is starting to play. And the idea is that, hey, you're just going to unwind a little bit. You're going to like kind of dial things back, knowing that you just really want to be comfortable and you might have a really long drive ahead of yourself. At the same time, if you hit exhilarate, all of a sudden it ramps up and it gives you all these bright pink and blues, and you're getting a much more aggressive BGM sound, and this is probably to get you going and waking you up a little bit. So it's interesting that they've thought that far ahead to come up with these different settings. But one of the other settings that I want to talk about is there's actually one set for simply when the vehicle is parking. So I'm going to go ahead and hit serene. And what that does is it essentially gives you a caution, like a notification here to say that your seat and some other things are going to move. So I hit apply. You see the seats moving back. You see the steering wheel going back and turning around. And it's moving pretty far back, both the driver and passenger. And one of the things that you can't pick up in the video is that there's this almost like a massage function going on within the seat right now. It's like vibrating. The lights kind of dim down, but you got this really cool animation here for serene. A lot of green lighting throughout, which seems to be cycling through a lot of different colors. So the idea here is if you're spending a couple hours at a kid's game or a practice and you had to sit outside, you can come in your car and just essentially turn on one of these modes to relax. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that off. After I do that, brings everything back in, steering wheel starts spinning again, and really this is some really cool tech that Honda has in their new Asimo operating system. So I think we've covered everything up here in the front row. So next, let's go ahead and check out that back row. All right, guys, here we are in the rear of the Honda Zero Saloon. And man, like I said before, this really feels like you're like in a limousine. There is a ton of space back here. And despite having a really low profile, roof, I still have pretty good, headroom up here. Again, I'm 5'10", so if you're over 6 feet or low, 6'2", 6'3", it might be a little bit tighter. Your head might touch the glass, but for me, I've got plenty of space. I've got tons of leg space here. I mean, feet it feels like. And like I said, they kind of got this Honda logo here on display, so that could give you some messages. But it's really interesting, like the padded door and everything kind of moves away with the door, so it's like you really have this kind of cocoon-like feeling sitting back here, including these headrests, right? So it's really, really nice. They kind of wrap around you, but essentially, like I said, this is a 4-seater only vehicle. It is a flat floor. There's really good space, but you definitely obviously can't put someone here in the middle. So really, really good room back here. But next, let's go ahead and hop out and talk about the powertrain. All right, so real quick, we'll talk about the powertrain of this Honda Zero Saloon. So actually not much has been said, so this might be a short segment, but we wanted to let you know that this is Honda's first EV architecture, ground up. They designed it for the Zero Series. It's going to be that kind of skateboard platform using an entirely Honda designed architecture and batteries from their new plant. Now, that's one of the things we can add to this section, is that they've said that both this car and their SUV from the Zero Series are going to launch next year in 2026, and they're going to be built in Marysville, Ohio at their EV hub. Now, that means essentially there's a few different vehicle factories, the battery factory, stamping, things like that. So they haven't said exactly which factory it's coming out of yet, but this thing will be built in Ohio. And at that time, I'm sure we'll learn a lot more about the powertrain, what's included. But really, one of the key ethos for Honda in developing this Saloon was thin, light, and wise, meaning you're going to have a very thin battery pack, lightweight, helps with the packaging, but also, of course, helps with the overall driving performance and range. One of the things they have said is that they're targeting for, kind of that milestone now of 300 plus miles of driving range on, pretty much all these upcoming Zero Series. So lots of potential, guys. So once we learn more about the powertrain, we'll, of course, come back with more details. But with that, let's go ahead and wrap up this video. All right, guys, that's a wrap. What did you think of the Honda Zero Saloon? Is this one of the best upcoming EVs in the market today? Let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Do you want to see more futuristic EVs or prototypes here on the channel? We're happy to bring it to you. So if you've joined us before, thank you so much. But if you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. Thanks, and we'll see you at the next episode.